It's 7:40. Let's do this. Good evening, Hampton Roads. Good evening, Northeast North Carolina. My name is David Aldrich, Chief Meteorologist of WTKR News 3 Television, and you are watching First Morning Live, where we're talking about an update on Tropical Storm Erin, which is getting stronger, slowly but surely. We're going to look at her in a moment, but this is sponsored by Marco's Pizza, where we're actually giving away free pizza. You heard that correctly, free pizza for a year. We've done this most every Thursday. Every Thursday we've been giving away pizza, and oftentimes more than one might expect. But I will talk more about them in a moment, but I do want to thank them. There is a website to go to. It's WTKR.com/Marcos, but I'm going to get that in a moment. I want to get back to the weather because what's amazing is how 24 hours, suddenly there's more buzz on the internet. Why is that? Is it because we're more informed or maybe more misinformed? Maybe we just get more models in our head. We thought, well, maybe this model is more accurate. Maybe this breakfast cereal is more nutritious than this one. Maybe I should have a few Frosted Flakes, a few Apple Jacks, maybe a few Rice Krispies. Put it in the same bowl and I'll get my complete breakfast. I'll get my complete forecast. If I could just hug all the spaghetti models. Getting ahead of myself. But some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. We tend to do that. We do that with snowstorms. We're like, I want to watch all the TV stations. What are they saying? They're saying this, and then they're saying this. I get it. But I'm going to try and kind of I'm going to clear out some of the noise. We do have X marks the spot in Yucatan. There's a 20% chance we get a storm here. That's according to the National Hurricane Center. But Erin is way out here, about 1,200 miles. Repeat, 1,200 miles from the northern Leeward Islands. But what is it? What is it to the Outer Banks? About 2,000. 2,000 miles away from the Outer Banks. That's a pretty far distance. That's a long way from here, but it's something we want to watch. And maybe it's a swing and a miss, and some maybe have written it off because you've seen some of those spaghetti plots. Those weather people just like to hype things up. No, we're going to look at it. We're going to try and decipher what may have a little more ground truth to it. But it is interesting to see when you look at Erin, right? This is where she is now. I'll take this full screen because I want you to see Erin is moving into some warm water. Anywhere that's red is greater than 80. Anything that's kind of burgundy is greater than 85, and anything purple is closer to 90. But this has winds of 50. What are you looking at? What are you looking at, Aldrich? I'm looking at this. 50 here. Oops, that's my big one. I should change that off. I'll go back to my telescope. So here's 50, here's 65. And this thing's moving west at 17. So we have a conducive environment. We have a sea surface temperatures that are conducive for more development. So that's a given. I don't think anybody would dispute that. But the question that I got yesterday at this time, and I believe I have this comment still here. This is a 24-hour-old comment from Richard. Is Richard on here? He says, yeah. Do any models have Erin making landfall near us in Virginia Beach? Yes. Now, in order to be accountable, in order to be prudent and measured. Does that mean it's going to hit Virginia Beach? No, but possibilities are what they are. And so if you're a betting man, if you go to Vegas or Atlantic City, you're going to bet on black or red, and suddenly it lands on green. Well, I didn't know green was an option. See what I mean? You can't necessarily assume it's going to be this percentage or this percentage. We just have to keep watch. This is still a week away. If we were to put a time on this, Wednesday night, which is what tonight is, 1 week from tonight will probably be one of its closest approaches. So that is what I want to put out there. And again, Richard, thank you for sharing your comment with me because that was 24 hours old. I want to see what you're seeing, but I want to get back to this moment where we are focused on sea surface temperatures. So we're just kind of establishing where this storm is. It's way out here. Where's here? Way out here is like in the middle of the Atlantic. So if I were to zoom in, you could see there's other waves coming off of Africa. But this is the storm, and it looks more defined than it did this time last night. This is the enhanced satellite image. So Erin is continuing to move to the west. We've already established that. And it continues to move into some air that might allow it for further development. So the latest track from the National Hurricane Center brings us to a hurricane as early as Friday. Maybe it's Thursday night. But Friday looks like it is a winter chicken dinner. No, it's a hurricane, right? It's here. And it looks like it's trending north of Puerto Rico. That's good. Good for our Puerto Rican neighbors down to the south. And it looks like it's probably going to miss the Bahamas. But the question is, will it graze the Outer Banks? And to Richard's question, are there any models that suggest it could? And the answer is yes. Now, did I show all this in great detail on TV? What do you think? The answer is to be prudent? No. I get 3 minutes, max. 3 minutes time. I've already gone, we've gone 5 minutes just establishing the foundation. Because if I go on 3 minutes and show you a storm that's going to hit Virginia Beach, somebody's going to go, you've scared Grandma. I'm not trying to scare any grandma. You know, this is the 45th episode of First Warning Live, and what have I said is important to do? Learn your neighbors' names. You know, back in the day, ask your grandma. You would go to your neighbor and say, could I borrow a cup of sugar? Could I borrow a cup of milk? That's something neighborly you do. But half the time, because of COVID or whatever reason you want to slate, we're so glued to the phones, we don't even talk to our neighbors, much less know their name. So what if this is good practice? Let's just assume this is good practice. Let's say a hurricane is going to come closer than what you might want, but not so far out to like Bermuda that some people assume it will go. Let's say Erin has an impact somewhere, maybe the Outer Banks, maybe Dare County. And maybe some people are going to need diapers, formula, baby wipes, toilet paper. Are you going to ask your neighbor for that besides the cup of sugar? They're like, could I borrow some? No, because you know what? Hurricanes, and in my experience, since the days of 1996 with Hurricane Fran, I have learned, and maybe this is true for your experience, hurricanes have a unique ability to bring out the best and the worst in people. Because I remember seeing people fight over a bag of ice, bottle of water. They didn't have ability to put gas in their tank because the electricity was gone and maybe you remember that from 2003 in Isabel. There are all kinds of stories. But hurricanes have that unique ability. So it triggers people. But I would not be doing my job properly if I didn't at least show you what I'm seeing. And I'm going to get back to this. So this is the official hurricane track. Now there's a 80% chance it stays inside the cone. But there's a 20% chance, let me put that in there, 20% chance it deviates from the cone. Well, what does that mean? It means it gets out of the cone, or they have to draw the cone in a different way to kind of fit where it is. Now, I know for a fact, because I know human nature, come back on camera, I know for a fact that if you had a time machine, right? You go back to 2005, we're in the 20th anniversary, I cannot believe it, for Hurricane Katrina. If you went back in time and you knew that the levees would break, I mean, if you said, hey, you should evacuate, no, I'm not going to do that. Even if you had the intel, people are going to do what they do. It's called human nature. But if you have the information, my best job is to give you the information and you make the decision that's best for you and your family. Is that a fair agreement? I think that's a fair point. But here we go, Tropical Storm Erin. Now I'm going to show you some of these spaghetti plots because these are individual lines and they all seem to think, it looks like 80% of them or more are moving to the north. So you say, well, it looks like it's moving west of Bermuda. And if you're not sure where Bermuda is, it's a beautiful fishhook island. Beautiful fishhook island, British. But it's beautiful. Then you go there. They wear Bermuda shorts, but they could get hit based on this track. Could hit by Tropical Storm Erin. But my point is, on this 45th episode of First Warning Live, I want you to be aware this is what you're probably not going to see on every TV show. This is the European model, and it does seem like it grazes the Outer Banks. Well, what time is this? This is Thursday, 1 p.m. I would say you'd want to watch this closely by Wednesday night. So a week from tonight, we're probably going to be watching this. Maybe it's over here. And if that's the case, what's the worst thing that happened? What is the worst thing that could happen if it actually shows up over my X? The answer is you learned your neighbor's name. You're on a first name basis. You say, oh, I live in this community or this neighborhood. We all talk to each other. It's like Mayberry. Okay, I know Manio talks like that. Maybe Matthews, everybody knows their name, but not everybody in Virginia Beach, Norfolk. Maybe in some of the communities where you live, they're just not really friendly. Maybe just say, hey. You know, I was saying during the heat wave, I said, hey, check on your neighbor. Go gut check. Hey, how's your AC? It's good. That's all you had to say. Didn't say you have to have them come over for lunch and tea and crumpets or bagels. Just make sure you know someone's name so you could take care of your neighborhood. I mean, I'm just one guy. I'm like blowing a trumpet. If this happened, wouldn't you want to know about it? Doesn't mean it will, but if you look at this full screen, I mean, this is pretty daunting. And I tell you this because if you go back to episode 44, which was last night, you will quickly learn that this was nowhere near the Outer Banks. And I said yesterday, it keeps changing, right? It goes from here. I said, if it moved this in one day, imagine where it's going to be tomorrow. And you might be thinking these models are out to lunch. No. Think of it this way. The models are doing their job. They're trying to figure out based on the initial conditions of where it could go. And so like a pinball in a pinball machine, everyone's trying to hit tilt. They're trying to assume it's going to go here or there. It may come closer to the Outer Banks than you might expect, Or it may, it might graze. Maybe it's a graze like this. This would buzzsaw, and you might say, well, where would that be? So, okay, if this is moving like this, it would move like that pretty harsh. The assumption is this front's going to come in a lot sooner. And if you look at the GFS model, which I'll show you, it does kick it out a little bit sooner. But this is Tropical Storm Erin. At this time, it would be a hurricane on the European model, and it may have some impact. We've talked about this, probably some of the earlier episodes, but when you look at this, I mean, it's the front, it's the northeast quadrant. It's the right front that has the worst damage, the worst possibility for storm surge and flooding and possibility of tornadoes. And thankfully, if you saw just a moment ago, that right front would be off the coast. But what if it moved further? What if it moved further to the west? That'd be a bigger problem, but it's still a week away. So I don't want anybody within the sound of my voice to lose sleep over something like this, because it's going to have to work and play its course. Sometimes too much information, like, oh, enough models. There are enough people in the weather community that they get so excited every 6 hours. There's going to be a new model run. They're a slave to it, and you can't do that. I'm telling you, this has the potential to have impact, no doubt, with coastal flooding. It could affect many areas, but my concern is less at this juncture of, hey, where it's going to be precisely, and just know it's still too early to say. This is a macro view of the very model we were just looking at. So we can look at this one. This is the other one that moves the front a little bit quicker. This is what we call the GFS. It's an American model. It's closer to Bermuda, right? That was from 8 o'clock this morning, but 6 hours later, the very same model, the AT0 comes in, and it's even further west of Bermuda. So it keeps changing. How the same model can come up with a very different solution, that's pretty far west of Bermuda, because Bermuda, as I mentioned, is right here, and we're watching this latest run of this GFS over here. So a lot can change. I just want everybody to know I maintain what I said from the very start of this experiment called First Warning Live, that if we could be kind to each other, if we could learn our friends' names in the neighborhood long enough to know that we are all we got. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to look out after your family. And I know that these things can change on a dime. I'm not going to be too worried about a storm that's 7 days out, but I'm going to watch it like a hawk. I've been watching it like a hawk for several days. And I know these things will change. They'll change again tomorrow. Then maybe it moves the other way. And then it was, we panicked for nothing. The models have to figure this out. And 7 days out, 6 days out, there's going to be some variability. Okay, I'm going to get back to the maps full. I want to check in with you. If you've got a comment, do my best to put you on the screen, because I've been going on and on and on with the information that I've put out so far. So just know that we will be revisiting this again tomorrow. And I know that by Friday, this is likely to become a hurricane. And that's one of the things that likely be a major hurricane. So I got about 16 comments. I see them populating on my screen. I got a note from Leandra. Let me just put her note on here. She's saying, wow, yeah, there's a lot here, right? There's a lot here. But for those of you that lived through, well, you'd have to be pretty old, much older than me, to have lived through Hazel, 1954. Maybe you lived through Floyd, 1999. I'm thinking of you, Franklin, Fred's Restaurant. Yes, I know about Fred's Restaurant and Hurricane Floyd in 99. What about Isabel, 2003? What about Irene, Manio? And even outside the station here, we had Kurt Williams was like waist deep in the water outside here in the Ghent neighborhood. So you can find dramatic stories of what storms could do, but we have to take care of each other. Would you agree with that, Leandra? I hope you do. I'm very thankful that you're here. If you got another comment, want to say hi to you, let's see. I got notes of Amy Thompson. I guess she's reminding everybody, make sure you pick up diapers, medication. Make sure you, toilet paper. That was a big thing during COVID, was it not? Everybody wanted to know where they could pick up some toilet paper. And Kim Thompson-Jones says, good evening, everyone. Kim, glad that you're here. I'm going to bring this back around because I do want to thank my sponsor. I couldn't do this without them very easily. They have 5 convenient locations. We're giving away pizza tomorrow. I hope that your name is on the list. And even if you don't win free pizza, I can assure you, you have just won 50% off pizza just from watching tonight. So go to WTKR.com/Marcos. Grab your favorite 757 phone number on this screen. These are the participating contest locations. What we are giving away with the deal of the week is the 50% off. That means anything you buy, whether it be a 2-liter Pepsi, a large The Works type of pizza, maybe it's a cauliflower, a gluten-friendly pizza. Just use the promo code WTKR50 in the checkout, of Marcos.com, and they will take off half your price of your pizza. I mean, you could share that. There's no harm in sharing it, but if you're watching us, I'd love to have you. And we're going to be giving away the certificate, which looks like this. This certificate will be issued, and we're going to be giving away, what I love to give away, is the other, the 10 individual pizzas. So while someone's going to get 12 pizzas, that's one per month, the others are going to be giving out, we're going to have 10 free extra pizzas tomorrow, and I'm very excited. I love Thursdays for that purpose, but we will get back to that. Let me talk about this. I just, when you're getting an inside scoop of the inside of the weather, we could talk about Sahara dust. We talked about sea surface temperatures. Sometimes Sahara dust can influence or inhibit storms. I think that ship has sailed on Erin. Erin is already beginning to spin like a top. Dust is not going to slow this thing down, but dust does typically reflect sunlight, and dry air can limit the thunderstorm development. So we already know Erin is a tropical storm, but she will be changing to a major hurricane, most likely at least Cat 3, hard to believe. Ferdinand, Gabrielle will be following up this season. And we're not even there yet. I know some of you are like, are you going to show that Atlantic storm timeline again? I am going to show it again. And the reason is because this is September 10th. Based on history, based on climatology, we haven't even reached the peak of the hurricane season. And yet, people who don't pay attention are like, where did these all come from? Something's wrong. No. You've had all summer to heat up the oceans. It is time. It's kind of like, Christmas comes on the 25th of December. You know when Hanukkah is, perhaps. You know when New Year's is. We can tell you September 10th, maybe a couple weeks before and after, is when a lot of the Atlantic begins to light up. Virginia Beach oceanfront. Oh, yes, there were folks out there. Not as much rain today, but you can see we still have an abundance of clouds in the background. We did hit 88. This was the hottest day of the month thus far. And I will point out 88 degrees. I do have some notes here. Let me come back because I like to take notes because I'm a note taker. We hit 88 at 3:45 this afternoon. We had a low of 74 at 6:01 this morning. Boy, you're really specific. Yes, I tried to do that. 99, 1881. That was back when that was when James A. Garfield was president. I know that's like recent, right? That's a long time ago. And I didn't come anywhere close to that. But what's interesting, because it was the first above average day of the month, right? So you look at all the other days, we've had now 12 days below normal, 1 day above normal. So today is it. And I think we've got a good shot at hitting 90 tomorrow. And if we do hit 90, we may not have that many in the month because there's a trend to get cooler. How do I know? Well, the Climate Prediction Center. And I've been telling you this since last week that by the time we hit the 19th and 20th, we're probably going to see another cool spell. It's the same cool front that could very well drive Erin out. And we hope it gets in here quicker. Maybe it will, but it's going to have to depend on multiple factors. I'm not going to lay it down to the feet of just this front, but there will be other factors to watch, no doubt. I got some other comments that are trickling in. I got a Marilyn Bell comment. I want to say hi to Marilyn. She's in East Tennessee. She says, as I come back on camera, she says, hopefully no landfall. I'm hoping it stays out, but even though it could be 50 miles, 100 miles, you're going to have some serious rip currents. You're going to have some coastal flooding. You're going to have a lot of things to watch. And as I mentioned, those little quadrants, based on the movement, it can have an impact on your community, even if it's not a direct hit. So we'll watch that closely. Let's keep moving. I got some notes here. We go. See, Byron is on here. Let's see here. Oh, I got a note from Byron. Let me say, Byron's giving us a good history lesson. I love this. He says, I know what they can do, meaning the hurricanes. He says, I live in Holland. Let me get my telestrator right here. We're so highlighting Byron Williamson. Thank you, Byron, for being here. He says, I know what they can do. I live in Holland, Virginia, a few miles from Franklin. And my children, he says, were born November 10th, 1999, the day that storm came through, and the storm scared me. They scare me too. I was living through Hurricane Fran. It was a Cat 3 when it came through Wilmington, and I was a NC State student. And I remember very well when the eye came over because it suddenly got quiet, eerily so. People like me would step outside for 10 minutes or so, and then the eye wall, back of the eye wall, we all rushed back inside. I know that it's not the most responsible thing to do, but when you're a college student and you're studying meteorology, you tend to do some wild things in your 20s. But I will say this, Byron, you are very kind to share your thoughts, and I hope that maybe, as I clear my telestrator, that I can hopefully give you some more information to work with, right? You can lead a horse to water, to have them learn your neighbors' names, but you can't force a horse to drink or something like that. All right, so 3/100 of an inch fell today, very little in Manio, nothing reported in Chesapeake. So like I said, we got rain today, but it almost like a 7-10 split. It kind of moved up toward Williamsburg, it kind of moved further south toward Elizabeth City and Rodanthe and Duck. but really didn't see much in the way of the quantity we saw just a few days ago. There have been some severe storms up toward the Big Apple, through parts of New Jersey and Delaware. That's where some other storminess has occurred today. But this front we're going to be watching. This is not the magic front. That's still 7 days out, but we're going to be watching closely for next week. Current conditions. I can tell you this, it looks like it's a little brighter based on the METARs. That's the like the airport code around Franklin and Chesapeake. More sunshine being reported there. More clouds, Virginia Beach. We just saw the ocean front. They have clouds, and more cloudiness right now in Williamsburg to the north. August rainfall in Norfolk is now under a ½ inch. Now I wanted to go one step further. We had that yesterday. We had nothing reported today. But when you look at the fact that we're now actually well below normal for August, or even for the year, because if you take a look, August is now the second soggiest month on average. This is a 30-year average. Where do you get 5.88? That's based on 30 years. But that 5.88, we're a far cry from even that, because we're now, as I clear my telestrator and show you this number, we're about 3 inches below normal in or around the airport. So if you live in or near, let's say near Norfolk International, we've had a couple of months where this is actually representative of rain and melted snow. Because I know you got big snows over about 10 or 12 inches in February. So we ended up with a surplus of plus 3 inches of rain and melted snow in February. And May, we had more rain than normal, but it's been below normal in March and somewhat April. And so far, very dry so far in August. But maybe we make up for that. Who knows if this would-be tropical storm hurricane soon to be has any say down the road. Now, temperature change puts 81 current temperature in Virginia Beach. That means it's 4 degrees warmer in Virginia Beach right now as compared to where it was this time yesterday. It's 81 in Chesapeake, Hampton, 78 Gloucester, and we have temperatures right now of 79 in Wakefield, and Windsor is plus 6. So they're 6 degrees warmer now in Windsor at this time. If you're going to the beach tomorrow, winds about 5 to 15. This is my Thursday outlook, and with 2 feet surf height, the rip current risk should be low, but the low tide occurs around 7:19, which is typically a couple of hours before or after 7:19 is probably your best chance to observe maybe some rip currents. Now here are my headlines. More storms, more rain chances tomorrow. Heat index near 100 on Thursday. Still muggy, still sticky. And watching Erin, we've covered her to pretty extensively so far today. I do want to bring it back to our local forecast in the short term. If you're in the military and you got family near and far, there are quite a few of these orange, we call them polygons, but they are basically representative of the severe storms that are popping up right now. I'm looking to the east of Rapid City. Looks like, let me pull this so you can see Rapid City there. Yep, Rapid City until 6:30 it looks like, maybe 6:15. These are some of the counties there in South Dakota where they're getting hammered with some strong squalls right now. There's also some severe weather in North Carolina and one near Savannah. Let's focus on the Tar Heel State. This looks like it is now affecting areas till 9 o'clock. We'll say Yadkin County with hail smaller than a penny, but there's some stronger storms in this part of North Carolina where there's very little going on right now between Hatteras and Virginia Beach. We had a low of 74 degrees officially in Norfolk. It was 75 in Hampton, 74 in Franklin, and highs today, as I mentioned, hit 88. This is the hottest temperature we've had all month. But you know and I know it was exceedingly hot and very humid in July, to a much bigger degree. We've had now 12 days in July. I've put this out there before of 90 or higher. We had 12 days in June, we had 2 in May, and we had 1 in April. But so far, this is a 0. I think that could change tomorrow. I do believe, now that we've had 27 in the bank, we typically see about 36. We're going to have a hard time getting, I would say, maybe we get one. Certainly we have a possibility tomorrow. But beyond tomorrow might be a little trickier. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to check your comments. Current temperature right now, 79 in Suffolk, and it's 80 degrees in Kitty Hawk. Let's see here. I got a note here from Erin Johnson. I'm going to say hi to Erin. Oh, Erin, it's good to have you on here. He says, I'm a little surprised, as he's noting here in his comment, I'll tell it straight so he knows I'm acknowledging him, and this is his words, not mine. He says, I'm a little surprised with the trend with the Euro model. I believe the icon predicted this, but I'm a little curious, is it possible that other models may start to trend towards the Euro? It's possible. I think personally this will trend a lot closer to the Outer Banks than some would think, like yesterday. Everybody's like, oh, they got dismissive. Don't dismiss Mother Nature. It's not smart. Yeah, if anything, I've learned in 25 years of doing this, you never assume, because you know what assume stands for. You don't want to assume anything 7 days out when something like this could change. So good question, good observation. But Erin, thank you for your note. I mean, we have Euro, we have AI Euro, we've got a lot of ensembles. There's so much out there that people are trying to digest and assuming it's the magic bullet. If I just get this model, I'll be in the know. Well, maybe you will, maybe you won't. It's one of those things that what you are learning is that it's best to prepare, and we talk about this in May, right? Always be prepared, because there's no lines right now for gasoline. There are no lines for toilet paper. There's just no lines. But could there be in, I don't know, 6 days from now if this track holds? Maybe, yeah, maybe people are like trying to mass evacuations. People, can you imagine trying to get off Roanoke Island? I mean, if that were to verify, but that's still 7 days away. So like I said, a lot can change, but I do appreciate you participating, and I appreciate your input, because I do appreciate the folks who are watching. There are a lot of people who are more weather savvy than we were 20, 30 years ago. It's just we didn't have this type of intel at our fingertips via the internet, but we do now. So like I said, does that change human behavior? I don't know. You tell me. Are there still going to be holdouts if that day comes? Our feels like temperatures are feeling like 85 in Norfolk and 82 in Currituck, but boys, it's swampy. Those dew points are in the 70s, and we've talked about this. A 70-degree dew point is sticky, and they're running about +2 in Elizabeth City. It's 5 degrees more humid in Kitty Hawk and Edenton right now compared to where you were this time last night, and 4 degrees more humid in Manio. Because those dew points, when they come up, it becomes more oppressive. It becomes more difficult to function. You sweat profusely, and the evaporative cooling process feels like it comes to a halt. You don't cool down, that's the problem. We had a dew point today of 76. 76, yeah, it felt like 96. So even though it was 88, it actually felt like it felt like 96 today, isn't that? And tomorrow it's going to feel like 101. You buried the lead. Why didn't you tell me that? Because people are more interested in Erin, don't you think? I think they are. Maybe it's just me. But it's going to feel like 101 tomorrow. But it felt like 96 today. All right, those are the dew points. You could argue that 75 is somewhere between unpleasant and miserable, but that's just where it is. It is 8:07. I got to keep moving. I got to keep clearing my telestrator. I got to keep looking at the comments, because I do appreciate everyone who is on here. I got some notes from Taj Brown. I think he's mentioning Matthew. There's all sorts of storms. Matthew might come to mind. Taj, we're talking about other hurricanes that might have an impact on. Let's face it. Let's call it what it is, right? Weather is emotional. You have an experience with weather, and it could maybe start when you're little, maybe when you're 4 years old, or when there was a snowstorm or a thunderstorm, and it scares you. It's like, wow. And you recognize many times at a very young age that it's emotional. It can trigger you. And that's what I don't want to do with this platform. I want to be informative. I want to give you a heads up like I did last week. I said, hey, by the 19th or 20th, it's probably going to get cool again. Still believe that. But I do think we have to watch Erin, because it acts like a, you know what it is? I borrowed this from a dear friend of mine, swizzle stick. Now, some of you are like, I don't drink alcohol. Well, maybe it's a Shirley Temple or a Roy Rogers. Work with me. Maybe you take some 7-Up or Sprite and you put some grenadine in it, and you take a little swizzle stick. It just stirs it up, right? That's Mother Nature's swizzle stick. It's a hurricane. It brings in the warm water from the tropics, moves it up. It's a natural process. But we don't want to be in the path of one. No, we don't want to be in the path of one. But this is like it happens, and in some cases, it can happen in the Pacific, and then it can happen in the Atlantic, and they work like a teeter-totter, right? You can have a lot of activity in the Pacific and nothing going on like we did August 1st. There was nothing going on August 1st in the Atlantic. Now it's becoming to switch around. It's like it's a cycle, much like your moon, much like your tides, high tide and low tide. Boy, have I gone on. 79 right now in Richmond. It's 81 in Virginia Beach and 83 in Myrtle Beach. Oh, look at this. The cool air, Minneapolis. They're at 80 in Des Moines, 80 in Detroit. And you can see this tells my story. I told you around the 19th of August, and this is a 10-day outlook. Look at the cool air in Montreal. Look at the cool air in Maine. LL Bean territory is coming down. It's going to feel autumnal in Quebec, but it will get cooler where it might just slow down the warming process, right? We typically expect, I wouldn't say should, we typically expect 9 days at 90 in August, and we haven't had one yet. Tomorrow could be the first. I think we'll squeeze out a 90. If we squeezed out 88 today, I think we have a good chance of a week, but it's going to be cooler. as we head into the second half, or maybe the third half of this month. The last week, as we showed you at the top of the stream, would likely be a little bit cooler, if not closer to normal. Temperature trend 90 tomorrow. Another hot day would be Monday, but you have a beautiful weekend. I mean, first things first, everybody. If you miss out on this beautiful weekend, then you've missed the whole point. I want you to get out to the Atlantic Park Surf. I want you to get out and enjoy some of the events. The Turtle Walk at Kipta Peak State Park this week. I want you to get out and enjoy what life has to offer, because like I said, we can't control this hurricane. Well, it's not a hurricane yet, but we can't control it 7 days out. That's why I said you'll drive yourself crazy and you'll miss all the good times in between. Every day is a gift. I say that all the time, and it's true. Now, the 101 is what it's going to feel like tomorrow. It's going to feel like the upper 80s for the weekend. That's tolerable. That's easier. It's a summer, good beach weather, great beach weather, but it will gradually get a little bit warmer on Monday. It's 8/11. I'm just checking in with you. I'm looking at a 60% chance of rain tomorrow. Then it trails off to 10% for the weekend. I think that's a pretty good trade-off. In fact, I think you're going to love the way it looks. Let's see here. Rebecca K has a comment. I think she's putting out a prediction. She said, I said 3 days ago, Cat 3 for North Carolina. We'll see. You know, it's one of those things that if you are spot on, Rebecca K, if you are correct, think about the implications. Who's going to suffer from your accuracy? People in the Outer Banks? People in Hampton Roads? People who lose power? So nobody's wishing that. I mean, it could happen. And we've already looked at the modeling as that could change. But I am going to be ready either way, because like I said, if this is not a direct hit or a brush, it's good practice. It's good practice to be in preparation mode for things that you have to have. Maybe you need toilet paper, maybe you need baby wipes or formula, and you don't have any access to it when the crowds are like the food is flying off the shelf, that type of thing. Just want you to be prepared, because you never know when that day will come. Rainfall forecast looks like this. So just between now and tomorrow night, it suggests we could pick up about a half inch around inland North Carolina. This is the same Euro that we looked at that had the more daunting solution here. This is coming in by way of the front to the west, but about a 4/10 south side and Albemarle. This is a different model. This is GFS, but this takes us back into like lighter amounts. But you'll get locally higher amounts. And how do I know that? Because the dew points are so high. The dew points are in the 70s. It's just ring it out. I mean, it's a given. We don't go to sprinkle land. We go to downpour and gully washers. It's almost a natural occurrence when dew points are this high. We know this well from the end of July. So these models are great, but they have limitations. Eastern Shore forecast, 86 Onancock and Bloxham, 86 for Exmoor and Cape Charles. As we start to wrap things up along the Outer Banks tomorrow, we're going to be about 86 in Nags Head with a 60% chance of showers and storms there, as well as Kill Devil Hills at 87. UV index about a 9 down here, and Hatteras and Ocracoke about 84 degrees. We like to show you the Storm Prediction Center maps just for the sheer nature of the fact that we got natural weather, severe weather going to break out in other parts of the country. So we look at the green as isolated. We like to look at the yellow as scattered, and clearly there's some hot spots even between now and 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, because these outlooks run through 12Z tomorrow morning. That's 8 a.m. Eastern time. So Rapid City, Pierre, South Dakota, and Valentine, those areas may have some scattered severe storms. We saw some already occurring when we zoomed in a moment ago around Rapid City, and we could still see isolated severe storms in Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, my hometown, born and raised, Wilmington, Delaware, and Washington, D.C. But Virginia Beach doesn't look like we've got any concerns. We might get rain, but it will not likely reach severe limits. Thursday, it moves back to Fargo and Grand Forks for scattered. Pierre might be isolated, but really a quiet map all in all for the lower 48. Severe threat Thursday looks quiet here. And last but not least, day 3 for Friday. Looks like it's Aberdeen and Minneapolis. Some of those areas, St. Paul might have, or even Wisconsin, could have some isolated severe storms on Friday. It's now 8:14. I want to get to the maps here, but Futurecast shows a couple more pop-ups. Now this is interesting, right? We haven't had much rain today. We were expecting a 60% chance of rain. We haven't had much, but what if this came out of nowhere? This is 11 o'clock tonight. Could this model be wrong just a few hours away from now? You be the judge, but if we'll be watching, the impulse would suggest we could have some storms on the Eastern Shore in the next few hours. Now, if you watch this tomorrow, the next day, or the next day, this is probably not as important to you, but if you're watching me live, you might find this interesting that it places duck and looks like maybe areas around Currituck County and also back toward Elizabeth City. The Harbor of Hospitality could get some rain by 11 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow morning, it looks like it breaks up for the most part. More clouds maybe at noon, and then maybe another round toward Duck, Elizabeth City, maybe up towards, say, Matthews County, Middlesex County, and then it looks like it moves to Franklin. This is about 7 p.m. tomorrow night, and Virginia Beach may be back into the shower activity at that time as well. So again, these models they do the best job that they can do. They're basically taking the best that they can from the equations of motion and trying to put this pieces all together so that you have a graphical display. But this futurecast is just guidance. It suggests by 4 o'clock Friday, it could still be raining in a few areas. So our Thursday morning forecast, mid-70s, North Carolina about 74, 75 south side. Our tonight's lows, really tomorrow morning, 73 in Suffolk, 73 in Gloucester, Cape Charles 75, and Duck 75 degrees, Edenton at 76. Thursday afternoon, I think we'll make a run at 90. North Carolina, probably a good shot at getting into the lower 90s, and the peninsula is about 87. So I've got 90 in Portsmouth, 90 in Elizabeth City, and about 90 in Smithfield, Chesapeake, and Moyock, while Hertford could reach about 91 tomorrow. Here's your first warning, WTKR News 3 7-day forecast. So spotty storms Friday, 10% chance Saturday and Sunday, but I want to be very clear. When I put in here, I did this for a reason, watching Erin, because I think it's Wednesday night into Thursday. If all things hold the same, and they could change and will change, they'll change, oh my goodness, probably 6-7 times a day. They're going to keep changing. But we want to watch Erin in this time frame, Wednesday night, Thursday, for the possibility. Maybe it's a brush by. That could be maybe a close approach. Let's say it's somewhere between Bermuda and the Outer Banks. We can make that assumption. But at that point, it's that time frame of Wednesday night, Thursday that I would expect we could see something, some effects, coastal flooding, rip currents at a minimum. I want to show you some happy shots, and we're going to go back to Marco's here in a moment because we want to give some great pizza away tomorrow. I do want to do that. But this is from this is a friend of one of our reporters, reporter Coulter Anson. He had a friend Tatiana who had this great rainbow in Buckrow Beach. This was from last night. Wanted to share that on behalf of Coulter and Tatiana. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful picture with us in Hampton. James River sunset from Katrina Gay. Always these beautiful pictures she shares from James River. Love it. Thank you, Katrina. And last but not least, one of the other happy shots we have come from by way of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge sunset from Brian. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We do appreciate that and also appreciate all of your time. The 7-day forecast back on your screen, but just want to remind you, if you want to get some free pizza, you want to eat something even tonight, you can get 50% off. 50% off your food tonight. I mean, that's a deal. WTKR.com or WTKR.com/Marcos to register for the win and the giveaway. But you don't have to wait. If you're hungry and you want to get 50% off your pizza, use this promo code through Saturday at anything in Marcos, and you will be delighted. I think you'll be impressed. If you haven't tried Marcos, I hope you will do so. This is the pizza certificate for a year. It's a punch card. We've given away many of these since May 19th when I started doing this live stream. But if you got one tomorrow, you could check off August and September. And if you're curious, what am I checking off? You're getting one topping, one large pizza monthly for a year for free. Once you fill up or check up all the boxes, that's how that card would work. And if you haven't seen or tried the Pozzoli, it's great. You get 50% off using the promo code. So the Pozzoli is a great lunch item. I love that. It's like you could pick it up and have it for lunch. And the Pepperoni Magnifico, which is a great pepperoni pizza with the old style pepperoni. You check that out. You could also get that at half off. So if you're curious about the locations, there's 3 in Virginia Beach. There will soon be 2 in Chesapeake, but right now it's the Kempsville Road location. The one that's on South Battlefield Boulevard will be across the street and down a little bit from Great Bridge Middle School. That's where that will be located. And of course, the one in Norfolk is on Hampton Boulevard. I encourage you to check out WTKR.com/market. It's not too late. And if you've registered once before, you do not have to register again. That would not be required. If you're in there, then we've got you. We're just using like a randomized, I get an email from sales, or hey, these are the winners. I go, oh, cool. So I'll be announcing those winners tomorrow. Your name might be on the list, and we can hopefully give away some free pizza. That's fun for me. Anyway, where am I? Oh, I want to take this back. Okay, so just a reminder, tomorrow we're going to talk more about Erin. We know that she will likely become a hurricane by Friday at a minimum, maybe Thursday night. But we'll have the latest track on that. And it's going to change. Like I said, if you're in the weather community, you would probably prefer to see the model runs from 2 days from now than to see the ones tomorrow. Do you see me? You get closer. It's like archery. You get closer to the target. It's a lot easier to know where it's going to go. But now, once you know where it's going to go, how are you going to behave? If you're not going to do anything, you're just going to cross your arms and you're just going to... That's not helpful either. Not helpful for you, not helpful for your family, and not helpful for your neighborhood, because we've got to look out after each other. That's how I see it. And maybe you agree with that as well. Anyway, just remember, it doesn't matter if the weather is sunny, it doesn't matter if it's serious, or even a hurricane that's approaching. Just know that every day is a gift. And make the most of it in your neighborhood. See you tomorrow.